Welcome to episode 18 of the Yes You Coaching podcast. I'm your host, Anna Manning, and today I'm going to be starting, this might be a bit of a mini-series, let's see how it goes, but basically it's about the things that I see killing people's confidence. And I'm in the middle of a round of the Confident at Work program at the moment, and I have women going through that program who are all building their confidence at work. So I'm seeing firsthand like the amazing progress that they're making, and they are. And I'm also seeing the stumbling blocks that come up when people are building their confidence. And the same stumbling blocks I see happening over and over again. And this is one that I wanted to share with you, because if you're trying to build your confidence, this might be a stumbling block for you. And it might help you. And the stumbling block is this. When you're feeling frustrated with where you're at right now in terms of your confidence level and your abilities, that will block you from building your confidence further. Now, I give you an example of what I mean by this, because it can be a bit of a kind of tricky thing to wrap your head around. And I had to see it with a few clients a few times before I started to realise what was actually going on. So say you are trying to get better at public speaking. And I'm like, okay, how did it go? Like, you've got a particular public speaking thing that we've coached on, and you come back and you're like, well, yeah, actually it was better for this reason, this reason, this reason, but I still messed this up. I didn't connect on this point. I forgot this. I went red at this point, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like to the client, okay, how are you feeling about how you presented? Like, what's your take on it? And the client says something like, well, to be honest, I'm pretty frustrated with myself. Bingo. There's what I'm looking for. Because what I've noticed over and over again is that if my client tells me that they're frustrated, angry, pissed off with where they're at right now and their current level of confidence in doing something, even when it's improving, they will not be able to get more confident. It's like you take a blanket and throw it over your current level of confidence when you're pissed off, and that confidence cannot grow underneath that blanket. And the reason that I thought of that blanket example is probably because at this very moment I'm sat at my partner's house, so I haven't got my proper podcasting microphone, and I'm sat underneath a blanket. I'd probably look like a little red ghost in the spare bedroom, so that the sound quality will be nice for you guys. Anyway, that is a complete aside. Here's another example. Say I'm trying to get better at podcasting, and I'm like, okay, and my coach says to me, how do you feel about the podcast that you did last week, Anna? And I'll say, to be honest, I'm pretty frustrated. I'm just pissed off. I'm not any better, blah, 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 blah. I know that what will happen with me trying to grow my podcasting ability, with me trying to grow my confidence at podcasting, I won't be able to do it while I'm feeling frustrated, angry, and pissed off with myself. So if there's any area where you want to grow your confidence at work at the moment, but currently you're feeling pretty annoyed, frustrated, pissed off with yourself, you may not be able to do it. You may have thrown a little blanket over your current level of confidence, and you may not be able to grow underneath that blanket. Here's another example that somebody gave me recently. They want to speak up more in a particular very senior kind of exec type meeting that they are in like once a month. And they said, well, do you know, I did make more contribution this time, and I was happy with my contribution, etc. But, you know, I could have said this and I could have said that and I could have prepared this and I could have done that. And I was like, okay, how are you feeling about how you did there then? How are you feeling about the contribution that you made? And they're like, to be honest, I'm pretty frustrated with myself, because that is a red warning flag again for me. that when that frustration is present, that person is unlikely to be able to build their confidence any further. Now, I've thought about why this could be, and I think it could be a couple of reasons. The first thing I can see is this, that if somebody else was constantly frustrated with you, and in this case, it's you, right, that's frustrated with you. But imagine for a second that somebody else was frustrated with you and you were expected to improve at something, but all anyone did was express frustration with you. I think subconsciously, somewhere inside, you kind of dig your heels in. Not consciously, but unconsciously, because you're not being acknowledged for where you are. You're not being accepted for where you are and what you've done and where you've come and what your progress has been. All you're getting is frustration. And there's a subconscious digging in of the heels. And you might say, well, I don't really know I'm doing that. Well, most of the time, none of us know we're doing any of this stuff, right? It takes me to sit down with a client and really dig into what their brain is doing that's creating a lack of confidence. Most of the time, my client isn't able to spot it until we've been working together for a little bit of time. I'm the one who spots it for them. So there may be some subconscious heel digging in happening when you're constantly frustrated with yourself. And I wonder if this is pretty natural in a way, because I imagine when I had a boss, right, my boss is me now, but when I had a boss, if I was trying to get better at speaking up in a meeting, for instance, and every time I tried, my boss was like, I'm just very frustrated with, that performance and where you're at right now. I think my reaction to that would be, well, fuck you. You might want to think about what would your reaction be if somebody else was constantly frustrated with where you were at and what you were capable of at that very moment? Would you like it, or would it inspire you to greatness and growing your confidence? Or would you be like, fuck you? In a way, I kind of hope you would be like, fuck you. Because it's like an injury. You're being injured. And that injury needs a witness. If somebody was just always constantly frustrated with you, that would hurt. And it would be hard. And it would certainly be a hard place to grow your confidence from. The second reason that I think that it's difficult, or that it can be, or that it... No, let me rephrase that. The second reason I think that being frustrated with yourself stops you from growing your confidence is this. Imagine I was trying to get better at speaking on stage, and every time I came off the stage, my boss said to me, oh, I'm very frustrated with the way that you managed that and you handled that. And it's just an ongoing frustration of mine that you're just unable to do this correctly. How do you think I would feel going out onto that stage again to do public speaking? Probably not great. And I probably didn't feel great anyway. I'm trying to build my confidence, for God's sake. Imagine that I was trying to build my confidence and somebody was like, by the way, I'm very frustrated with you because you're just not doing this right and you just can't get it and it just doesn't seem to be working. That would lower my confidence, not allow me to increase it. Now, we know automatically that the thing that helps us to increase our confidence if we're working within a team, for instance, is people being acknowledging the good stuff that we did. Yeah, Anna, you really had the audience at that point. You did really well there. And maybe there's a bit of room for improvement here, but I definitely think that's something you can work on. It's something you can get better at. Now, in that situation, I feel safe, I feel seen, I feel acknowledged. Even if there are learning points, that's okay, because it's not like an attack on me. It's gentle. And from there, from that like open space, it feels like open space to me, that from there I can take those comments and I can actually do something with them. Instead of psychologically like digging my heels in or being wounded, I'm able to go out there next time with a little bit more confidence, and the next time a little bit more confidence, and the next time a little bit more confidence. Clients will often come to me after they have tried to do something many, many, many times themselves. And they'll say, do you know, I thought I would get better at public speaking, for instance, if I just did it over and over again, because like that's how you get better at something, right? And yes, partially that's true, but if you're doing it and every time you're frustrated with yourself, I think you'll get to a level of improvement and then you will stop. I don't think you will continue to get more confident in the circumstance where you're frustrated and pissed off with yourself. You wish you could. And you thought going out there over and over again was what was going to make it better. But it didn't work. And part of the reason I think it didn't work is because you were doing it in this hostile environment of frustration and anger and like pissed offness, which you are directing at yourself all the time. And if this is raising like a little flag for you, if you're like, I thought I would get better at this thing if I just kept doing it over and over again, but it still freaks me out and I still don't feel confident with it, this might be one of the reasons why. Ask yourself, how do I feel about the fact that I'm still struggling to do this thing? And if your answer is something like pretty pissed off or a bit frustrated, red flag. But I tell you what, it's good to know. Because most people will never be consciously aware of this until somebody else points it out to them. I didn't even see it with the first few clients I coached on this. It started to become obvious after I'd seen it over and over again. And even now, I kind of struggle to explain it to people. I hope that made some sense to you and you're not completely in the dark. Or as in the dark as I am sat underneath this blanket. If you want help to build your confidence at work, and you might have tried some things before, you might have gone out there and done things many times, but you still don't feel good, you still don't feel confident, I'm inviting you to come and work with me. I coach in the Confident at Work program, although we don't start another round of that until April 2023. But I also coach people one-on-one. And what we do in that one-on-one is really dig into how confident are you feeling right now? How confident would you like to feel? And then I help you to spot all the internal blocks, like the one that we've talked about today, that are actually getting in your way and stopping you from building your confidence. When people actually manage to do it, they're like, oh, it's like magic. Well, that's cool that people think it's like magic, but it's not. It's basically a set of thinking and behaviour patterns that I see over and over again that contribute to lower confidence. And it's basically a set of behaviour and thinking patterns that contribute to higher confidence. You can go from one to the other. Doesn't have to be a mystery or any magic. All right. That's all I've got for you today, guys. The other thing, actually, that I've got to tell you is that I have a free class coming up called Hone Your Hormones, Learn How to Work with Your Cycle. And I realised a while ago that I was always knackered on the first day of my period. And I started to kind of try and, do something about it. I started to not do as much work that day or whatever. But I thought there's probably a lot more I could be doing. And I'm quite ignorant when it comes to my hormonal health and my cycle and all the rest of it, even though it impacts me and probably most of you that are listening every month. Or maybe if you're in perimenopause or menopause or postmenopause, maybe all the time. So come and join the community and get access to this free class. It's with Kelly Beaumont, and she's going to be on the podcast actually in a couple of weeks. I'm quite looking forward to that. We're going to talk all things like hormonal health and how that impacts you at work and what you can do about it. She's a certified women's health coach, and she specialises in women's menstrual stuff. Very technical term there. You are invited to come and join the class and share it with other people who might need it. The more confident we are with our cycles and how we handle everything that comes with the changes of our hormones throughout the month and throughout our lives, the better. Because let's face it, this stuff does have an impact. So I'll leave the link in the show notes. Come and join in that class. You'll get a recording if you can't attend live. I think it's going to be good. I think I'm going to learn a lot. We've already had quite a few sign-ups, so you'll be in good company. All right, go forward. Try not to be too frustrated with yourself. I'll see you next week.